Welcome back to the King's Corner Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Christian King, and on today's episode, we're discussing why the Commanders need to stay as far away from Brandon Aiyuk as possible. But before we get into that, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and if you love what I'm talking about, hit that notifications button so you can get whatever I'm putting out as soon as it comes. But let's get into today's topic. So, I know over the last month, I've been pushing as hard as possible that Brandon Aiyuk to the Washington Commanders is as close to guaranteed as possible. I've changed my entire stance on this entire situation. I've told you guys I hate noise, I hate distractions. And Brandon Aiyuk has not only become a distraction, but he's an unserious target. It makes no sense what he has done for the 49ers, for the NFL. The Niners put him on this he did not show up list. So in order to get back into the NFL, he has to show up to the Niners or reinstate to the NFL. And he announces yesterday that he's not going to reinstate. And he's like, I'm ready for this upcoming season with the Washington Commanders. Well, there's two problems with that, buddy. One, you're still a member of the San Francisco 49ers. If the Commanders sign you a minute after you get cut or even a day after you get cut, they're facing massive penalties for tampering. You're not allowed to do what he thinks the Commanders are doing. And there's a reason Jaden Daniels keeps trying to tell him, yo, I'm not doing this social media game. We're doing this on the phone and get off social media. Social media does not help athletes in this situation. The worst thing that has happened in this entire generation, and this is away from the football field, this is in life. The worst thing ever created was these things right here. It's a cell phone. When those things got invented, people got voices that they didn't deserve. It made no sense to see what we're seeing now. Brandon Aiyuk is using social media, and it's destroying his NFL career. 2 months ago, I would have said, oh, we'll be on the Commanders by week 1. I'm not sure we'll ever see Brandon Aiyuk on a football field again. He's going to be flipping burgers at some McDonald's joint in the next year or two. He makes no sense mentally. In order to get back into the NFL, he has to reinstate. And that's the second problem. If he doesn't reinstate with the Niners or the National Football League, the Niners can keep him on this list forever. And even if he feels he has done wrong, all he has to do is give the threat he'll be there at training camp. When the Niners saw his post on social media, he's not showing up, they started laughing hysterically, guarantee it, and started laughing, saying, he just doesn't get it. And he doesn't get it. And, I want to give props to my quarterback. Jaden Daniels, that's what I'm talking about. I got nervous the other day because I saw that you and him were having it back and forth on social media. But then he comes out today and he goes, Jaden said stop doing the social media stuff and let's talk like men on the phone. Yeah, that's how it needs to be done. Jaden Daniels, you are the face of the organization. And when you're the face of a franchise, it's the same as being the head CEO of a company. You are the face everybody sees when they think of that team. You're running $1 million business. I mean, that's really what every NFL team is. That's why these quarterbacks, they have to talk a certain way, have to look a certain way. They can't act like a wide receiver or a running back or a cornerback or an offensive lineman or tight end. They have to act as professional as a head coach because in all technicality, in an organization, a perfect organization runs just like this. Owner, GM, head coach, quarterback. Those are the 4 most important people in the organization. Now, if any of those 4 don't line up, your team doesn't do well, their marketing strategies end up being horrible. I mean, it has to line up. So when Jaden was in this social media back and forth, I'm telling you right now, I can guarantee either Josh Harris, Adam Peters, or Dan Quinn called him up and said, yo, we love you to death, brother. Stop it. This is not the way we're going to get Brandon Aiyuk, and I'm not even sure you want Brandon Aiyuk. And the other thing that comes along with Brandon Aiyuk is you don't need him. If you need another receiver, go get Stephon Diggs. He's played in the last year. Brandon Aiyuk has not touched the football field. Stay away from Brandon Aiyuk. And I honestly don't even think the Commanders need to add a second wide receiver. I honestly believe their receiving core right now, as is better than people give it credit for. If you really want wide receiver one, Terry McLaurin, he's a top 10 to 15 wide receiver in all of the NFL. Chinga Conko, the new tight end. He's an up-and-coming tight end who has never been used in a proper system until this year. Tennessee didn't know what he was doing. They didn't know how to use an athletic tight end. In Washington, in this offense that they're running over David Blau, he's going to be utilized like he's never been utilized in his entire career. You have those 2 options, and in 2024, all the Commanders had was Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz. Well, Terry McLaurin's still Terry McLaurin, and Chinga Conko at this stage of his career is better than what Zach Ertz was in 2024. So you're like, okay, what do the Commanders have outside of that? Antonio Williams. Remember the name Antonio Williams out of Clemson, the 3rd-round pick. The Commanders, I've heard rave reports from him. He looks tremendous. He's their Amon-Ra. And another name to remember, Treylon Burks, former first-round pick of the Tennessee Titans in 2022, has found his footing in the Commanders organization, has some newfound confidence, and it sounds like if they don't get another receiver, he's going to be wide receiver too. And another name that I've heard a lot from over the course of camp, or mini camp, Van Jefferson, former receiver of the Los Angeles Rams, has been torching. He's looked amazing. Now, another thing I want to preference is DBs and secondary aren't allowed to make moves on the players during this portion of camp. They're only allowed to see if there is even a chance of contact, they have to get down, can't touch them. You want the players to look good. But I can tell you it's an upgrade over last year, because at this time last year, you were still hearing how Joe Witt's defense was dominating the offense of Cliff Kingsbury because they had nothing to throw to. Hey, this year, under a new offense and a new defense, the offense is starting to look better. Now, the defense has had its moments, but the offense does look better this year. But I will say, you don't need Brandon Aiyuk. If I'm the Washington Commanders right now, you just signed Rasul Douglas Monday. That's a great depth piece for the defense. If you need to add another piece and you want another receiver, you'll get Stephon Diggs or bring back Deebo Samuel. But if it's not those two moves, just leave your roster alone, and if an injury comes up, then you make a move. But if that's not what you're doing, you stay with what's put. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this episode of King's Corner. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Do you think the Commanders should sign Brandon Aiyuk, or do you agree with me they need to stay as far away as possible? But please like, please subscribe, and until tomorrow, King's Corner.